Okay. Also, all right. We have the general manager, Smash FM, Abeokuta, Mrs. Sheunjo here as well. A round of applause for her as well. Okay. Without much ado, we'd like to recognize the presenters. As you can see, we have a section here, and so we have 7 people who will be sitting there. But we also have presenters who will be presenting their paper. In the audience today, we have Mr. Tolu Oluwo, Coordinator, PRIBJA. He's one of our presenters. Please acknowledge him. A round of applause. I saw him just a few moments ago. Okay.
Okay, as time goes on, we'll get to introduce other people. But right now, yeah, I know. Yes. Right now, when you say somebody is a fellow of a professional body, it means the person has seen 99. Remain only one. So the DG NBC, who is going to set the tone for the discussions today, is a fellow of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. That shows you that he's at home with what we are saying today here. And his experience, his pedigree will be revealed in what he's going to tell us. Please join me to welcome to the microphone the DG National Broadcasting Commission, Malam Ishaq Modibo Kaur.
The chairman of the occasion, Chief Bamiji Ojo, a very hard act to follow. The chairman of Splash FM, High Chief Adebayo Akonde. The zonal director of the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Mohammed Bello. In 2005, we traveled together to the People's Republic of China. I was working as the pioneer editor of Daily Trust newspaper during that year. Professor Ayobami Ojebode of the University of Ibadan, a very good friend of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC. ACP Okeonwa Abufo, representative of the Commissioner of Police, Oyo State. Members of the Board of Management of the National Broadcasting Commission, and our retired directors, colleagues from different media houses in this remarkable part of our country, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming. On behalf of the National Broadcasting Commission, I will particularly like to express my happiness at this return to Ibadan, the pioneering city for television broadcasting on the African continent. I have very fond memories of this city, but especially this citadel of higher learning, Nigeria's premier university, the great University of Ibadan. During the 1980s, practically no month passed by that we would not drive from Ilorin to Ibadan. My mission was very simple. I came to the University of Ibadan bookshop, which was one of the very best in the country at the time, to buy books. From here, I would then move to the late Comrade Olaoni's residence, somewhere opposite the Peter and Paul Seminary at Bodija, to discuss the politics of the Nigerian Marxist-Leninist movement and also purchase more books. As a young broadcaster of that period, we couldn't escape the impressive professionalism of the WNBC BCOS and its array of disc jockeys, Alex Kondi, Nyejo Adigbite, Batiloy Warite, and so many more. Some would eventually become our friends, just as the WNTV NTA Ibadan would set the standards for television broadcasting, which influenced us too in our corner of Nigeria. There was a sense in which I have always felt that Nigeria is very lucky that we have a place like Ibadan and its tradition of excellence in broadcasting and its huge reservoir of broadcasting veterans. This was also a vibrant city of culture. Great artists were resident and performed in Ibadan. The Lijadu Sisters, K-12 Voices, Tunji Oyelan, and many more. While there was an annual cultural fiesta at this University of Ibadan that was called Havana, it was a major fiesta that was well attended and also very well reported by the media. I'm sure that you can now understand why I have always felt really happy to return to this city in this hallowed ground of the University of Ibadan. This is the 6th edition of the NBC YEMI Sonde Broadcast Media Stakeholders Forum. But this is my first opportunity to attend the forum. The fact that the National Broadcasting Commission continues to partner with the forum convener, Mr. YEMI Sonde, speaks to the importance of this forum for broadcasting in this part of our country. I believe that we need more gatherings like this in other parts of Nigeria so we can have more opportunities to examine the issues that condition, influence, or arise from the broadcasting culture of our country. The truth is that we are part of an increasingly interdependent world, and the knowledge out there can be very useful to assist our apprehension of our own reality. Just as much as the convergence of new and traditional forms of media has become a major context of the various contradictions of contemporary broadcasting, including that of Nigeria. I am therefore not surprised that your theme for this 6th edition of this Stakeholders Forum is Social Media Evolution and Conventional Broadcasting, the Nigerian Perspective. That is also the title of the tone setting that I was requested to do. Scholars of the media around the world, like Professor Ojebode, all agree that the advent and consolidation of social media has posed a great challenge to conventional media in general and conventional broadcasting in particular. For instance, the circulation of newspapers around the world has suffered a great deal, especially in the advanced capitalist countries. This same trend has become the norm in the setting of Nigeria as well. The presence of social media opened new accesses for media consumption for millions of people. This has also affected conventional broadcasting. The opportunities to live stream has become a major added value for conventional broadcasting, and the effort has largely been driven by the fact that there is a huge population of the young that consumes media in a different way, majorly on handheld devices. But the most important issue has been the fundamental rupture in the manner that content can be generated and disseminated. While the conventional broadcaster must work within certain codes of professional performance, the citizen journalist does not have such inhibiting professional factors. And it is that liberty which has been responsible for many of the problems which social media is generating in contemporary society. In 2014, if you recall, Nigeria was suddenly hit by the problem of Ebola fever as a result of the tragic arrival of a Liberian infected with a killer disease. It led to the heroic effort of the late Dr. Adadevoh to ensure that the man who entered Nigeria with the infection did not cause a type of mass infections that could lead to the death of thousands of Nigerians. But for me, the most important sidebar was the hysterical scrum around the consumption of salt water as a possible cure for Ebola. Nigerians went into panic mode, and the story crossed over from social media platforms into conventional media, including broadcasting. It turned out that the origin of the story of that saltwater cure was a mischievous effort by two young people to exploit the incredulity of Nigerians. They imagined that Nigerians could or would fall for the story. And of course we did. Quite a number of people lost their lives. I wrote a piece titled Ebola Virus and the Saltwater of Ignorance for my weekly column in Vanguard and Blueprint newspapers on the 14th of August 2014 to explore that issue. More contemporary is the issue of the clashes between nomadic herdsmen and sedentary farming communities, and the manner that stories have emerged are mediated often from social media platforms and are carried by conventional broadcasting platforms. I have a very personal interest in that issue. I am a son of nomadic cattle herdsmen, but I'm also, at the moment, writing a PhD thesis on this issue for the Nigeria Defense Academy's Department of Political Science. The immediate use of stories from social media platforms was one of the issues that led the National Broadcasting Commission to withdraw the license, the network license of one of our licensees last month. If we think this issue is only a Nigerian problem, then we miss the point. All over the world, there is a major challenge to the manner of conducting life that the proliferation of social media platforms is intruding into. The recent resignation of the British ambassador to Washington was related to the leakage of what is normally secured secret diplomatic correspondence from an accredited ambassador to his country. The unflattering descriptions of President Donald Trump in the leaked correspondence led to a major diplomatic scandal. The Trump White House decided not to have any more relationships with the ambassador of America's closest ally, Great Britain. The ambassador's position became untenable, and he eventually resigned. But in his inimitable style, President Trump took to his Twitter handle to respond to the issue. He conducts diplomacy on social media, just as he did in the conflict with North Korea. Fake news, hate and dangerous speech, half-truths, fantastic claims, hoaxes, the manipulation of photography, the mischievous editing of images, and the emergence of software that can place image over others to present false narratives are some of the realities of the world of social media. When they are unmediated, they can be used to deepen discourse of hate and reinforce prejudices. Nigerian conventional media platforms, especially newspapers, illustrate news about alleged armed herdsmen by sourcing pictures of armed herdsmen from the internet. But in almost every single one of these materials that I have studied as part of my PhD work, these images were either Dinka or Nur nomads from South Sudan. They carry arms in their herding activities, and since there are no images of Nigerian herdsmen carrying arms, even with the proliferation of narratives affirming such, our media sources then get those pictures from online social media platforms to reinforce the deep-seated prejudices of their readers and audiences. The result has been the increasingly tense environment in our country and the reinforcement of tendencies towards the outbreak of ever more tragic conflicts in our country. Social media in Nigeria has evolved in the context of the demographic changes that our country has witnessed over the past 2 decades. I was checking Worldometer this morning. That's the United Nations Department of Social and Economic Affairs Population Division's World Population Tracking System. As of this morning, Nigeria has a population of 201,203,000 people and counting. Nigeria ranks 7th in the world's population, and that means that 2.6% of the world's population is Nigerian. 51.9% of the Nigerian population lives in urban communities, while the median age today is 17.9 years. These figures are very vital in the understanding of the evolution of social media platforms in Nigeria. The majority of Nigeria's population today is young. And these young people spend a significant amount of time on social media platforms, consuming news and other contents through handheld devices. They are also generating or sharing all kinds of content, including the positive or the hateful. That is the nature of social media platforms. The central point is that the material that is spread might not have gone through any forms of professional mediation to check veracity or fairness and other basic canons that would affect the conventional broadcasting praxis. The conventional broadcaster in the Nigerian setting must naturally start from the pedestal of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code. And the general principles set the tone. Talking about the character of broadcasting, the code describes broadcasting as a creative medium characterized by professionalism, choice and innovation to serve the public interest. The code appreciates the importance of broadcast technology and platforms, pointing out that these avail the practitioners the best means of information dissemination and reception, and therefore enables the individual to share in and contribute the best of his or her ability to the world around him or her. The central kernel in the setting of Nigeria is also well set forth by the Nigerian Broadcasting Code. Broadcasting shall influence society positively, setting the agenda for the social, cultural, economic, political, and technological development of our nation for the public good. Our code appreciates the fact that the Nigerian, through the means of broadcasting, is expected to partake in the sharing of ideas and experiences that will enrich the life of the citizenry and help them live in a complex, dynamic and humane society. The vision for Nigerian broadcasting is that it shall essentially match the best in the profession anywhere in the world, yet be distinctly Nigerian, projecting the best and discouraging the worst in the society. In other words, the cardinal responsibility of broadcasting to inform, educate, and entertain shall not be at the expense of national interest, unity, and cohesion of Nigeria's diverse social, cultural, economic, political, and religious configurations. On the basis of that, the Code therefore added that no broadcast shall encourage or incite to crime, lead to public disorder, be repugnant to public feeling, or contain an offensive reference to any person, alive or dead, or generally be disrespectful to human dignity. The broad platforms laid out by the Code appreciate the importance of social media platforms. A source platform for conventional broadcasting. In a world of convergence of media platforms, that is clear. That is why the Code spoke to user-generated content. The broadcaster, it says, shall take cognizance of new and emerging technologies which have made possible the development of user-generated content, provided such content meet all relevant provisions of the Code. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that despite the central place of the Code at the heart of Nigerian broadcasting, our industry nevertheless confronts the challenges of hate and dangerous speech, abusive comments, hyping, the phenomenon of the anchor who wants to interject his or her own opinion on contemporary societal issues, and the unmediated exploitation of social media platforms as sources for user-generated content. There are several issues arising today with the engagement that society has established with the surfeit of social media platforms. Social interactions at home and at work is gradually suffering as every individual locks himself or herself away into a social media virtual reality. The quality of relationships erodes, and this is all around us. Even mental health professionals are becoming increasingly worried about the impact that social media has on mental health. Some believe that the constant distraction of social media contributes to shortened attention spans. In addition, many people who regularly use platforms like Facebook or Twitter report high levels of stress. Of course, any issue of mental health challenge can impact on the long-term health of society and productivity. In recent times, the cry of fake news has become commonplace, and societal confidence, even in traditional media outlets, has been significantly eroded. Unfortunately, false, misleading, or confusing online content find their way onto conventional broadcasting platforms, as we pointed out, and especially at the NBC in our recent controversies with one of our major licensees. I believe that this stakeholders forum offers a very unique opportunity to exhaustively discuss this exciting, if challenging, social phenomenon. The truth is that we cannot ignore social media nor underrate its impact on the conventional practice of broadcasting. Our challenge is how we can creatively balance the dialectical interface between social media and the conventional, mediated, and professionally engaged conventional world of Nigerian broadcasting. Happily, that is why the forum has gathered intrepid Nigerian media intellectuals and professionals here at the University of Ibadan to examine the issue. The NBC is happy to be a partner in this gathering because of the opportunity it offers us to examine emerging challenges within the context of our work in Nigerian broadcasting. I wish you a very successful day. Thank you very much.
Let's give a bigger round of applause to the DGNBC. I want to make a promise now. I'm not very good at making promises. What I want to tell, the promise I'm making, that from now on, things will move at faster pace, beginning from tea break. So if you are going to take your tea, you take it in 2 minutes. Yes, I mean from now on, things will move at a faster pace. Tea break is almost ready. In the next 5 minutes, we'll take our tea and coffee.
Absolutely, and as you can see, snacks are already going round. But we understand that one of our awardees will not be able to stay to the end when we'll be making presentations of awards. So we'd like to give an award to Chief Adebayo Akonde, and to hand him that award, I'd like to invite back to the podium the Director General, NBC, Malam Ishaq Modibo Kao, to present the award to Chief Adebayo Akonde.
There.
As a Lifetime Achievement Award, ladies and gentlemen, I believe he deserves a round of applause. Very deserving award to the Chairman, West Midlands Communications, the Mayor Olubadan of Ibadan Land, Chief Adebayo Akonde. Congratulations, sir.
This award was really surprising to me, and to my fellow friend, who is also the coordinator of this event. Because this is the sixth today. It's the sixth edition. If this is the sixth edition, I could remember very well that the first edition was the first edition started when? Huh? 207. And I'm proud to say that I started the first edition. I just want to thank the chairman and the initiator to thank them very much for even thinking me worthy to be given this award. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Once again, congratulations.
Yes, a big round of applause to Chief Akonde. Let's give Chief a big round of applause in congratulating him for the award. On behalf of all those who are scheduled to give goodwill messages, I will give it on your behalf. So, YEMI Sonde, we wish you well. The next thing is, quickly, we cut the cake, we drink the tea, and come back to the paper presentations. Eh? I call it tea. Well, anything you get there, I call it tea. I think, how are you cutting the cake? Let's move to the cake. Our High Chief and Chief Oju. I'm coming. Eh? Yes.
So while you take your snacks, there's going to be some photographs taken with the cake. So everyone on the high table can please, is already heading that way. And right after that, we'll go into our first session where Professor Ayobami Ojebode will be delivering his paper. So thank you very much. Enjoy your tea break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Okay. Professor Idachaba, please, your attention is needed here.
Okay.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed an honor for me to supervise the cutting of this customized, specially customized cake. Well, somebody is saying the cameramen are blocking the people who are behind. I wonder which comes first now. Fine, they should watch from the screen. All right, it's an honor and privilege for me to supervise this beautiful cake cutting ceremony. You can see the color of the cake. It's golden. It's also clad in the Nigerian color. It's really prophesying the greatness of Nigeria. And it's very much in tune with the dreams and aspirations of our Baba for this great country. Baba, on behalf of the entire industry, we congratulate you on this occasion. We acknowledge all the great work you have done for the broadcasting industry in Nigeria. We will pray, God, that you live even longer so that you witness the positive transformation of not just the industry but the entire country in your lifetime. You are flanked left and right by your admirers, and I will request you to place your hand on the knife. Right? Do you need to support him from any side? Fine. Maybe you join hands. Great. The DG is supporting. Our chairman is supporting. It's like an anointing service. Touch and tap, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, so, can you join me in saying a J? J? Can we have an E in the house? Can we have an S? Can we have a U? And the final yes. Congratulations, Baba. Give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Baba. Congratulations. Thank you, DG. No. Yes. Congratulations, Baba. We congratulate you. It's 80 plus and 80 times 80 if it's the will of God. Congratulations. You will.
Okay. You have the next 5 minutes to finish your mineral break. So we move into the paper presentations and discussions. There's no tea, it's mineral, isn't it? Since people are having it, no, it says you have to move to
are where?
And since there are no images of Nigerian persons carrying arms, even with the proliferation of narratives affirming such, our media sources then get those
Visuals unfolded.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got 5 more minutes and then we're going to reconvene. 5 more minutes and then we'll reconvene. Thank you very much.
break time is over. Can we all come in so that we can start the next session, paper presentation? Please come in so that we can start the next session.
If you're outside and you can hear my voice, please come in. We're about to start the next session. Thank you very much. We don't have a bell. We would have,
Yeah, we would have been ringing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Break time is over. Thank you very much. Please come back inside.
Okay, introduce the first one.
All right, so our first session is going to be a paper on the influence of social media on broadcast contents presenter. Once again, our paper is going to be titled The Influence of Social Media on Broadcast Content Presenter. And it is going to be given by Professor Ayobami Ojebode, the HOD, Department of Communication and Language Arts, University of Ibadan. Actually, it's a good place to clap your hands.
Yes,
Yes.
can we give him a round of applause?
Thank you.
Okay, invite you.
Are we all here now? Before we invite our speaker forward, I'd like everyone to please take your seat. Thank you very much, so that there are no distractions. Please take your seat. Please come back in. Ushers, please tell the people out there by the foyer to please come back inside. Thank you. We're about to present our first speaker, who will be presenting the paper, The Influence of Social Media on Broadcast Content Presenter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Professor Ayobami Ojebode. Okay. We're going to invite our Professor Ojebode forward again shortly, but there will also be discussants for this segment, for this session. There will be discussants, and would like to invite them forward to take their seats here. There's going to be a chairman during this discussion session as well. So on this topic, we're going to have a panel of discussants, and to chair this panel, to chair this session, would like to invite the MD, Radio Service, Jar Communication, Ambrose Shomide. Please put your hands together for him as he comes forward, our chairman for this session. And the discussants during this session include Director of Research at Bilficam Media and Systems, ladies and gentlemen, Edmondo Bilo. Also, a discussant on this segment, GM Premier FM, Reverend Nee Jaunsi. A round of applause, please. And finally, a final discussant on this session, CEO, Women FM, Mrs. Tone Okewale Shonaya. A round of applause for her, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the paper is titled, The Influence of Social Media on Broadcast Content Presenter. Once again, help me welcome forward Professor Ayobami Ojebode.
Bob. Yeah, kind of. But before Professor Ojebode presents his paper, we want to invite the chairman of the session, Ambrose Shomide, to take a brief look at this, then usher in the presenter himself. Ambrose Shomide.
Thank you very much. I know that by protocol I should be sitting down, but I feel I should come here to set the tone after the DG. And Chairman has dealt with the subject that's brought all of us here. The DG spoke about the advent and the consolidation of the social media and the challenge for conventional media. Now, as presenters, how do we work the minefield, balancing what is known as FOMO, the fear of missing out, the trending issues in the social media, and the urge to deliver on time in a highly competitive market? How do you balance it all? I think that's the essence of the first paper. As presenters, how do you run the race without landing yourself in problem? What are the challenges? What are the issues? And to lead us in this discussion is an erudite scholar who has always been present in all the different gatherings that we had with NBC, Lagos, Abuja, and beyond, well versed in the subject of communication and broadcasting, journalism, and all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Ojebode.
The chairman of the occasion, Baba Bamijojo, the DG, NBC, other directors of NBC, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I have just been told that I have just about 20 minutes to bore you. So accept that abridged protocol. I am supposed to talk about the influence of social media on broadcast, on the broadcast content presenter. And I want to start on the familiar terrain. The previous speakers have described to us what social media are. Those platforms and applications, some of which are web-based, some of which are just applications that allow users to create and share messages and to network. If we look back, social media is a relatively new invention. There is some disagreement about dates, but it was about the late 1960s that the first form of the internet was invented. And what we call social media platforms today didn't begin to evolve until about 1996, when what is called 6 Degrees was invented. 6 Degrees was like the modern day Facebook, but then it simply allowed users to upload their profile and to make friends. It was in 1999, about 20 years ago, that the first blogging site was created. And it was what we call blog today was known as weblog. Then it became weblog and then blog. Facebook and Twitter didn't come on board until about 2006. But let's take our mind back to radio and television. After a series of experiments going on in different places by different people, the first radio broadcast was around Christmas time in 1905. If you were already born by then, you are not likely to be here right now. But then large-scale broadcasting began about 1920. That was how many years ago? Many years ago. In Nigeria, as we probably all know, radio broadcasting began in 1932 with the rediffusion services that relayed the signals of the BBC. Television broadcasting began in the world around 1920s and in Nigeria in 1959, right here in Ibadan, as the Director General NBC alluded to earlier. So in between social media and radio and broadcasting, there is a space of about 100 years. But as social media grew, as the internet and new technologies generally grew, there is a lot of talk about media convergence. The meeting point of the different forms of media somewhere in the space called the internet. And media convergence was originally supposed to be very positive. It was a way of harvesting the strengths of the different platforms of media, print, electronic, and then the social, and seeing how these strengths will mutually reinforce one another. But what we are engaging today is the kind of impact that one of these platforms seems to be having on the other. Harvesting content from social media has become very, very attractive to broadcasters. Broadcasters use social media to gather the audience, and the social media audience in Nigeria is quite huge. About 17 million Nigerians are on Facebook. Yeah, that is not huge when you think of 17 million out of over 200 million. But let us remember that the entire population of Botswana is less than 2 million. And the Gambia is still hovering around that. Ugandans and Kenyans seem to want to argue about their population. And I tell my friends from there that when you are finished, both of you can merge. Then we can begin to have conversations about who is bigger. Because together they are just about 60 million, both of them. Now, 17 million people on Facebook and 29 million people generally on social media in Nigeria is a huge population. And so this is very attractive to the presenter because it is a common place and a cheap place to meet the audience and to lure the audience if you want. Presenters also use social media to live stream. I follow a number of Facebook pages of Radio Nigeria, of NTA, and there is a lot of engagement between presenters and the audience on Facebook. But what happens when this happens is our number one concern today. There has been a lot of concern about the alienation of the audience from the broadcast content in the past. Radio was earlier described as Asoromagbesi, in that radio simply speaks, but then it hardly ever gets anything back from the audience. That changed when that reduced when phone-in programs came. But now it has almost totally disappeared because, in fact, you hear more from the audience sometimes than from the presenter in many radio programs. Social media also, so when presenters use social media, we also have easier distribution of news content and of other content, such as on platforms such as WhatsApp and Facebook. And presenters that are smart can also use this media to confirm ideas and news. The attractiveness of social media to the Nigerian presenter is therefore because it is cheap. You do not need to pay a lot of money to reach a large amount of audience. It is also easy. You can get up-to-date information from online within a very short period of time. But also there is a lot of ignorance about the impact of social media on other aspects of broadcasting. We are witnessing a lot of trouble in the broadcast sector today, especially because of cut and paste content. You know what I mean. Videos that are online and uncensored and unedited and unconfirmed are easily downloaded and shared by television stations. Audios are also shared by radio stations. The aftermath of this can be imagined, and we'll talk briefly about this very soon. As a result of this, you can almost smell shoddy preparation in nearly every radio and television programs these days. So you have a program that begins with, after the DCA has spoken, then the presenter says something like, Eka bosori eto wa gbajue. Ìkan tí a fẹ́ sọ ọ̀rọ̀ lórí ẹ̀ ní ọ̀sán yìí ni pé ṣé ó dáa ká máa gbajúẹ̀? A ti ṣí ojú òpó sílẹ̀ báyìí o. So the presenter says 3 sentences and then ó ṣí ojú òpó sílẹ̀. Ẹ ní sùúrù àwọn ìpè yìí ń jálura wọn, ẹ ní sùúrù èrò pọ̀. That is self-advertisement. And then people begin to call. And you know what happens? Someone calls and says, "Hey Joe, I want to discuss about the road going to my house." In other words, the man didn't even know what the program is about. He is just calling. The cost of calls have gone down. Everybody has become a caller. Now, this is audience involvement, and it's something that we should ordinarily cherish, isn't it? We have finally broken a jinx. Radio is no longer a Soromagbesi. But what does this do to the audience? A skill is like a piece of investment. If you don't nurture it, you lose it. As a result of this easy-to-do kind of broadcasting, I'm afraid, many broadcasters are losing the skills to do proper broadcast packaging. Learn 3 sentences, say 3 sentences, and show you posile. There is also the propagation and the spread of unverified information and outright falsehood. This is not peculiar to radio and television. When the PDP ticket was obtained and won by Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, a fake online platform publicized the news that the gay community of Nigeria has adopted Atiku as their candidate. 2 leading newspapers in Nigeria took that news as it were, and they broadcast it. And they published it, thank you. Then they later realized that 1, there was no gay community by the name that was there. 2, that this gay community, if it ever existed, didn't even meet. And 3, they did not adopt Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as their consensus candidate. They published retraction after retraction. Then what does this do to a media practitioner, a media worker? That is the gradual erosion of the credibility of the presenter. If today you have to say, "We are sorry," tomorrow we are sorry, day after we are sorry, people will say, "Are you like Baja? We're sorry from Boboyi." Lock or come. Definitely, research is confirming that audience prefer what we call performative news, which is very common now on our radio stations and television. This is the new form of the old newspaper review. And you know that newspaper review is an extension, is a form of news. It is supposed to be serious, it is supposed to be sacred, it is supposed to be devoid of frivolities. I leave you to decide what you hear in newspaper reviews in Ibadan, radio stations in the Southwest today. How are serious issues like rape presented? No, do you know what I'm talking about? Wọ́n ní bàbá àgbàlagbà kan tó ti dàgbà o, ó tún ti jákòlò ọmọ ọdún 8 o, ó jákòlò ẹ̀ o, wọ́n ti jákòlò ẹ̀ o. Ayọ̀ Jẹ́bọ̀dé, mo fẹ́ lọ sùn, ó dà bẹ́ẹ̀. Now, and I must tell you, those who are conducting research in this area will tell you, audience say they enjoy it. Now, what is the sacred call of the presenter? Is it to give the audience what they want, or to give the audience what they need? When TV was being commissioned in 1959, in his speech says, Television will serve as a teacher. Now tell me, which teacher that is worth that name gives the pupils what the pupils want? If that is the case, no pupil will ever pass. At least they won't pass math. He said it will be an entertainer and it will serve as a stimulus to us all to transform Nigeria into a modern nation, into a modern and prosperous nation. Now let us imagine this. If this was the aim of television, if this is the calling of the presenter, how is trivializing of grave issues like rape, like kidnapping, how is that going to lead us to becoming a modern and prosperous nation? I mean, I just do not see it. And this is something we need to think about very seriously. How is this connected with social media? It is because there is a lot of frivolities online. And these frivolities eat into the heart and the commitment of the people who are supposed to guard the guard. The power of social media should not be underestimated. You remember that in the first week of this month, there are 4 events that happen in Nigeria that help us to appreciate the importance of social media. This is the month of Koza, you remember. This is the month of the slapping senator, you remember. This is also the month that the slapping senator was arrested and queried. To me, those are 2 separate events. You do not query, you do not arrest a senator in Nigeria. I mean, they are almost omnipotent. This is also the month in which government reviewed its proposed project, Ruga. One thing that is common with all of these 4 is that one, all of them happen within 1 week, the first week of July. 2, something happened, people went online, people hollered online, people criticized online, and then something happened offline. The power of social media. But it appears to me that presenters don't even understand how this can affect them and their profession. We should really care as presenters what social media does to us. For instance, if all I do is to harvest information from social media, or to speak those 3 sentences and open my WhatsApp and other things and begin to get things said from the audience, then there is a loss of respect for me. My program can also become a fuel for tension and war because you do not have control a lot on what those who call in say. And the NBC has no contract with those people to regulate them. The NBC knows you and your station. The newly reviewed code has very explicit sections on social media. And I want to read 2 of the provisions of the new code. Section 1, subsection 26 says, broadcasters using social media sources or any emerging technologies for coverage of disasters and emergencies shall ensure the veracity and credibility of the originating material and content. It is the duty of the presenter to ensure that this content is credible and that it is true. Broadcasters using social media sources or any emerging technologies shall ensure due caution and professionalism in the coverage of disasters and emergencies. Again, social media. Professionalism in the coverage of disasters and emergencies. Now we know 9 out of 10 bloggers that are called bloggers in the world today did not receive any official training on blogging in any institution. So, in a sense, they are really not professionals. They are very influential, so we call them influencers, and they are very knowledgeable and they are very skillful. They do not sign to any professional code of conduct. So you can't hold them to a standard. That is why those who are using them, their content, have to realize that they are the ones who will be held responsible. We are interested again in how this affects the presenter. And I think I decided I was going to talk to us briefly about the Nigerian Criminal Code as it pertains to defamation. Section 375 of that code says, if you deliberately spread false information, no matter where you obtained it from, it is 2 years imprisonment. Now, I do not think it's a very fantastic thing to go and rest in prison for 2 years, honestly. Section 3, the same section says, but if it is not deliberate, if you spread information that is false and defamatory, but it is not deliberate, then it is just 365 days, 1 year. Now, if you are carried away by the quality of prison in Germany, which you see online, then it is good to pay a visit to Kirikiri. Importantly, and this is where I think we need to pay attention. Importantly, let me read a section of that code. Section 380, subsection 2, says something that I think it's very important and we should note. You may think, this is partial, but then that is what it says. It said the criminal responsibility of the proprietor, editor, or publisher, or station owner, I add that, of any periodical for the publication of any defamatory matter contained therein may be rebutted by proof that such publication took place without his knowledge and without negligence on his part. Now, this is what it is saying. This is what it is saying. The station manager, the editor, the duty continuity announcer, even to some extent the producer can be excused, can be discharged and acquitted if they can prove that they were not aware of what you were going to say on air, and that they tried everything they should, and you went ahead and broadcast what you broadcast. Then they are going to be warned, and the court will let them go. The presenter is going to be on his or her own. Are we together? You can say, well, but when I made money, it went to the station. Now I have trouble. It will not go to the station. It will not go to the station. Because these people can easily prove their own innocence. Now I know there are lawyers among us, and they say that defamation takes 100 years to prove. I agree. But ask anybody who has a court case. You can't even sleep. So for the 100 years, you are waiting. So the fact that it takes long to prove is not even an advantage. In closing, I want to ask us a number of questions. 3 questions. We just said that between the evolution of social media and the evolution of broadcasting, there is a difference of 100 years. Therefore, who should lead whom? Should broadcast media be led by the younger media, or should it be the other way around? You presenters are professionals, tested and trusted. Should you be led by those who are not trained and who operate on platforms that are without gates and gatekeepers? Number 3, broadcasters, presenters are trained. The audience is what you call Igida Eyefo. Who has more to fear in terms of career, in terms of reputation, in terms of professionalism? These are questions I hope in the discussion session we will engage. Thank you.
The shortest session I've had the professor go. Can we just put our hands together for Professor Jebode there? No doubt the world is changing, and no matter how you want to look at it, the social media is here to stay. It is how we use what we harvest from the social media, how we use it and what we use it for, that will really tell about the personality of the presenter, the credibility of the presenter, the personality of the station, the integrity of the station, and stationality. We'll come back to discuss that. Prof has led us into the possibilities and maybe some booby traps. But of course, the social media also presents an opportunity as a vehicle to extend the frontiers of what we do on radio. But what are the limitations? What are the things that we can do on the social media to take what we do, to take our business, independent producers, as presenters and broadcasters, beyond the limits provided by our coverage area? And to talk about that is someone who is involved in that field, who is a coordinator of PRIVJA. And he's going to come and talk to us about digital marketing and independent producer, challenges and opportunities. And then we'll come back to discuss the two papers together. Of course, we take inputs from the audience. Join me in welcoming Mr. Tolu Oluwo. Mr. Tolu Oluwo, where are you seated? Listen this way. Kindly encourage him as he comes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Standing on existing protocols, of course, with full regards to Mr. Chairman himself, the DG of National Broadcasting Commission, directors, ladies and gentlemen. Without wasting your time, I'd like to quickly run through my paper. Although with your permission, sir, I want to take a different or unique platform by using my phone. How can I talk about digital marketing without using one of the major tools of digital marketing? It's amazing how we have, somebody said something very condescending about Nigerians. He said many Nigerians own smartphones. Okay, I don't want to get arrested. Okay, so not Nigerians now. So many people use smartphones, but are sadly very dull. I repeat, many people use smartphones. When I bought this phone, I bought it for a little over 400,000 naira. There was something more. And it is not uncommon in Nigeria. Many Nigerians own mobile phones that can buy plots of land. So people use smartphones, but are sadly not smart. How do I mean? So it's a bit unconventional. Just a little bit unconventional. My name is Tolu. Like he said, I'm a co-coordinator of PRIV Nigeria. So I want to explain what we do basically. PRIV Nigeria is an acronym. PR for PR experts. I for influencers on all platforms. All social media platforms. B for bloggers. Of course, you know already about 200 million blogs in the world. And every day, 900 million to 1 billion posts, blog posts are released every day. So we're not taking cognizance of this phenomenon. Is living in the dinosaur era. I'm going somewhere. It is already here. If we forget to embrace it, we will not be a part of the new future, which is even already here. It started yesterday. So in PRIV Nigeria, not mentioned are digital marketers, graphics designers, content writers, content developers, copywriters, and of course we have lawyers, about 4 lawyers, because we signed a lot of documents. We are in contract with several multinational state governments, confectionaries. We're all over Nigeria. We're very young people. Just a little over 100 of us. You may not personally have for us. It's Nigeria's product. We're going somewhere right now. So while I was seated there, I heard when the DG was speaking. I don't like to speak over the heads of people. I've been opportunity to speak, at several platforms. And one of the things I always want to enjoy is to speak directly to your heart. I'm not better than anyone. Everybody here, one way or the other, is a specialist in an area. Like we say in the law, you're only a novice in the area that you're ignorant. Everybody here knows something. Now, when he was speaking, I heard things like, I hope I won't get arrested. I heard things like, he only spoke about the ills of social media. But we all know social media is important. Right? Whether we see, I'm a Christian. The Bible says the glory of the youth is their strength. You cannot ignore the strength. I was surprised by a musician in Nigeria who came with a funny, he started glorifying 419, popularly known as Yahoo Yahoo. In law, we are told to check public opinion. So I checked many blogs, many pages on the internet. I was surprised by the level of support this guy had from Nigerians. I went to check their pages. Many reputable Nigerians supported him. You cannot take away the strength, but the onus is on us to channel the strength in the right direction. You'll be surprised, your child that is always coming home and forming, mommy, daddy, I love Jesus. Oh, Allah is the best. In school, I didn't see anything, but that you all know what I just did now means the social media is powerful. Thank you very much. So very quickly, I wish I spoke before the last speaker, because I was like, oh, he's taking all my notes. But very quickly, I just want to talk about digital. It is not a mystery. It can be understood, and it's very simple. See, it is the most disruptive market now in the world. Bill Gates said something very important. He said, any business not on the internet will soon be out of business. I repeat, Bill Gates said something very remarkable. He said, any business not on the internet will soon be out of business. 93% of social media users, that's about 2.63 billion, believe that every business should have a social media presence. In fact, when I get a flyer, and I got several today from several people who sell properties, the first thing I check when I get a handbill is, do they have a social media presence? You know why? It is the easiest place to call out anyone. It is the easiest place to demand excellence. Now, if not for social media, I probably won't be standing on this podium with this wonderful audience. It is the easiest way to call anybody to order. I was in Abuja when I saw that a particular bottling water, I think one of the production, whatever, I don't know what really went wrong, but the 75 cl was not to be taken by Nigerians for a while. Nobody heard for a while. We took it as law. In fact, I feel for damage control, they have a lot of work to do because nobody wants to take that water today. Social media is very powerful. Now, about digital marketing. What is digital marketing? We've already spoken about the evolution of social media. We know when it started, like you said, 1960 to 1970. Of course, it is not important until everybody has a computer, without which there will be no networks, no communities, nothing of such. I don't want to belabor overflog you rather with that which they already successfully supplied. But very quickly, digital marketing. We all know what marketing is, the 4 P's of marketing, the 6 P's of marketing. This is pretty much about the merchandise of a broadcaster. Now, Globalcom, for example, is a company. YEMI Sonde, let me use something in-house, is a company. YEMI Sonde is beyond this man that you're seeing. He is a brand. Now, every staff of YEMI Sonde must think, talk, and speak, if possible, look like YEMI Sonde. Now, if a staff of YEMI Sonde slaps a lady by the gate of UI, they will not say, Tolu slapped. They will say, oh my God, broadcasters, you have to fear broadcasters. They will say YEMI Sonde slapped, but it was not even in Nigeria. So we're going somewhere. So in digital markets, because we are all broadcasters, and this is the concept of a consummate broadcaster. On my WhatsApp, for example, I have about 8,000 contacts. I have almost all the stations' representatives on my WhatsApp. I know the station that takes social media more importantly than the others, but I won't mention names. But there are stations that their staff members, they've indoctrinated, they epitomize the station. There's hardly any WhatsApp story without reference to their station. That is digital marketing. I get paid millions monthly from digital marketing. Millions. They don't even ask what religion. They don't ask. Some of them don't even know me. You'll be amazed to know how many blogs you read daily that I coordinate from this phone. but it is faceless. You would never know it is me. We're going somewhere. So what is digital? I just wanted you to know the importance. It is not something you will shelve to the background or to the side. It is the age we live in. Okay, maybe just a testimony as a roundup, because I don't have 20 minutes. I was studying law in Leeds City University. I was opportunity to work in the radio, Leeds City FM. Now, what did I do? It was a program for entrepreneurs. And by the way, the ambassador for business and enterprise under Ibadan Entrepreneurs Network. So I was given a radio program, talk about entrepreneurship. But I was concerned. Entrepreneurship is beyond entertainment. So I spoke to the head of programs. Can we tilt it a bit? It seems entrepreneurship now in Nigeria is the way forward. We can't keep waiting for the government to produce jobs that don't even exist. We can all do something. 201 or so million. That's too much. That's market. So I was given a radio program. Now, it is a community radio. So I knew I was limited, bandwidth-wise. But I was not limited in terms of impact because of social media. So NBC would say, and I'm going somewhere with this, it's a community radio. You cannot go beyond this. So you know what I did? I hope I won't get arrested. I assembled a team. Somebody said hopefully. I assembled a team of 30 people. Firstly, I understood every human is naturally positively selfish. Let me repeat. Every human is naturally positively selfish. Meaning that I'd rather post a picture of me and Mr. YEMI Sonde at this event than post just his own picture. Who agrees with me? In fact, my audience will respond more to a picture of me and him than just him. It is the way humans are. So what we did was, my programs were on Mondays. Everybody that came on my show, for the 2 years I was on air, I made a celebrity out of you. So I will ask you for a picture. Many went to the studio for the first time because of me. Because I had high standards. Because in digital marketing, you want to project the best image. Now, if you drive past a boutique and you see on the mannequin Adibos, would you enter instead of Adidas? You will not. Any smart thinking Nigerian will not enter because you would assume that the best should have been on the mannequin. So if I'm seeing Adibos outside, that means when I enter, I will see Addis Ababa. So I'll tell you, bring a photograph of you. I had the best graphics guys in Ibadan working with me. We'll make an image. As at that time, there was no radio station doing it in Nigeria. They would do it when maybe someone they deem very important is coming. But to me, every Nigerian was important. But for you to be creating employment for others as an entrepreneur, you are the most important to me. So we'll design for you an image, one. We will then ask you to send a profile of you to us. Because even if you did not get to hear me on radio, for I was limited, you could still see the person's profile on the internet. The internet never forgets. So they will send profiles. Then I had about 30 bloggers, influencers, of course, combination of all of them on my team. So on such Mondays, we would tell the world we're going on air. My testimony. Before I stopped, every major musician in this Nigeria, maybe apart from Wizkid, came on my show. Think about it. Just give me any name. Before I stopped last year, they were on my show. Because they were getting the heat. It was always in their explore. Who is this to? Look, what is Leeds City? Tell me anybody. Davido, Mayokun, everybody. Call any name. Even Bobrisky, O'Shea Barrest. It was on my show. If you don't know Bobrisky, who is your bro? It was on my show. Just to tell you what you could do with social media. So when they come and they see the station, there was lead radio. There was Lead City. Come. Is it lead radio? It is Lead City. Kojubai no law. But because of social media, we were everywhere. Going somewhere. So what is digital marketing? Just for those that want to write, very simple. Another thing I wanted to say, okay, I'll probably come to that before my time runs out. Yeah, very quickly, very quickly. I need to run right now. Very simple definition. I don't like to say too much. We don't need grammar. So I will show you just now how to make your first money today from social media. Because see, happy staff, happy company. If I work with Mr. YEMI Sonde and I'm not happy, there is no way the station will be happy. I'm going somewhere. Digital marketing. This refers to any form of marketing done through the internet. Simple. Any form of marketing done through the internet. Radio station, it's a business. See, this suit was made by someone that charges really well. But another person will make this suit and say 10,000 naira. Someone else will make this suit and say 30. Someone will make the same suit and say 1 million naira. There's a man called Israel Okoko. His cheapest suit is 12,000 pounds. And he will not make less than 5 pieces. Calculate that in naira. What does he want to put there? Nothing. His brand. When I tune to your station as a consumer, let me feel and know anything from this place is the best. It's just an impression. And it can be done through the power of digital marketing. If I tell you how many brands and state governments I have on this phone, you'll be amazed. Well, of course, I would never disclose. You'll be amazed. We're going somewhere. So I said this refers to any form of marketing done through the internet. Now listen to this next line. Suffice to say, digital marketing is the most disruptive form of marketing just yet. It is the craziest. Excuse my French. Like he rightly said, anything can be done from here. Character assassination, smear campaign, anything. A friend's dad, his 4 million naira savings was simple of an eye. Because one boy somewhere understands how to steal from the internet. Took all of his money. But we need to be prepared for what is coming. So now challenges very quickly. The biggest challenge lies in identifying the channels which fit your business requirements. See, not all the stations, I know the demography of most stations in this city. Not all the stations can be alike. Have you carved a niche for yourself? Can you now do your digital marketing around that? There's a station we all listen to in the morning. I won't mention name. For noon, there's a station we all go to. For midday show or drive time, there's another station. For midnight lovers in the house, there's someone we all listen to. I won't mention names. For correct political matters, there are people we listen to. These are your cash cows, your selling points. It is not something you leave in their hands. See, this is the problem we have as social media activists. What you did not put in me, you cannot demand from me. Now, if as a nation, Nigeria does not take us importantly and seriously, you cannot demand from us excellence. If I rose through the ranks by myself, without support, as I'm now getting from people like Mr. YEMI Sonde, I would not feel I owe anybody anything. It is not something, and this is just by the side. I told my guys that we would be willing to, if approved, take up the challenge to build the official Instagram page of NBC. Because when I saw it, we presently now have less than 1,000 followers. As a consumer, I will not take anything they put there seriously. Because numbers what? Matter. Numbers count. I will not take, I told my guys, for the next 1 year, upon approval, we will do it for free. If you want to clap for us, it is not free money, but we want to do it for free. Because so when they make, the law professor just read out, I do not know it. I had never heard of it. And we are the ones that control the internet space in Nigeria. I have never heard of it. So imagine if me now goes under my WhatsApp that has 8,400 contacts and I say, these are the things you go to, you'll be in prison for 2 years. They will take it importantly. NBC's page presently has less than 1,000 followers and it's because of you and I. So they won't take you seriously. And in the new world, numbers matter. So very quickly, digital marketing. Say, understand the channel that works for you. It might be Twitter. If your stuff is more sensational, maybe Instagram and Facebook. If it's political, maybe Twitter. Most companies now are more reactive than proactive. Meaning, in choosing the channel for their business, they choose the channel because others in the industry are doing so. There was a station that had their building demolished some months ago. They did not tell us to help them post, but I can dare say that they got more responses from the internet than from their broadcasts. In fact, the state government was surprised by the outcry because we did not rest. For the slapping senator, I was called. I pray I'm not arrested. We're just 11 of us that took it upon us. There's a lady in Nigeria, she's into the makeup business. I won't mention her name. She was the one that took it upon herself and called us to make it a case. But you wouldn't even know, because I'm in Ibadan. And I quietly travel. You know the funny thing about social media? I can put Amala Sky things when I'm in Abuja. You will not know where I am. I can put chilling at the state government office when I'm somewhere in Kaduna. We're going somewhere. There was a company that recently did, I think it was, I'm not sure, I don't want to mention the brand, but an American company that did an image of a monkey on a t-shirt. I can tell you how many millions they lost overnight because people said boycott that company. Another company, a phone company, January 1st this year, I don't know how to pronounce the name, Huawei. That thing can disgrace someone. Sorry, what's the... whatever they said. The employee on their official Twitter page said Happy New Year. And we now saw Twitter from iPhone. You don't get it. Let me use Nokia. So the official digital marketer for Nokia was to say Happy New Year from Nokia to the world. And underneath, as a signature, there was Twitter from iPhone. He was sacked immediately. So challenges, like I said, of course, we've spoken about demerits, cyberbullying. Me, I feel very annoying when I hear some presenters say things they just heard from the, but he already spoke about, said from the internet. Because when people hear it from your radio, they believe it is law. So demerits of social media as a whole, very quickly now, demerits, we have cyberbullying and online bullying. We have hacking, like my friend's dad's money was siphoned gloriously. We have unverified news from credible sources taken as legitimate news. But can you really blame us? I feel very strongly, okay, I will not be arrested. NBC should have a unit that we can go to verify. I feel so. I heard him say 17 million Nigerians are on Facebook. Maybe even more because of Facebook Lite, which is free, no data. We need to take this importantly. Of course, addiction, fraud and scams, security issues. Do you know Boko Haram will not exist, really, as big as they are now without the help of social media? Every terrorist rejoices when what they've done, their evil heart, has been announced. They wait till it is announced. If you ignore it, they want to get your attention. I was not surprised some days ago or weeks when we saw 4 guys, young guys, who were the ones handling social media for Boko. I said, no wonder. Because we tried to see how these old, funny-looking guys would be the ones controlling Twitter like this. They went to school. Health issues, of course. It could destroy your eyes, several things. So many things. And of course, social media causes death. Many people want to take pictures, daring pictures by the moving train, and glamorization of drugs and alcohol. But as broadcasters and as a roundup, it's imperative for us to have at least a unit in our station. I have stations here that have done that very well. 32 FM, I know. Another one would be Out 2 FM. Of course, Lagelu FM does this powerfully well. Because when you say Tololowo is on air, I want to see what Tololowo looks like. I want to see what he's wearing. If you say he's a tailor. So you tell me by 8 p.m., check our Instagram handle. We're going live. They would obviously have more numbers. Because beyond the radio experience, which is really for the blind, now visuals, they say we tend to retain 80% of what we see. I can see if truly, he said he's a tailor, if he looks the part. So as stakeholders, let's not see it as a vice. It is not a vice. It is being used, to perpetuate evil because we are not talking about it. Let's embrace it. Then let's begin to create new channels that we can streamline our strength, after. Because if you forget or neglect it, whether or not it will still be in existence, it has come to stay. And then for individuals, finally, I also to do this. We have a page that we're all going to follow right now. Starting from NBC. Right now. So I told my brands, I told Coldstone, that the first 10 people that follow, they'll get free ice cream treats. I told Why Not Wear is another brand. I told several brands now. So you get clothes free, accommodation free. Who did I tell again? Clothes, accommodation. Somebody said it's giving 5,000 naira. Yes. So there's a 5,000 naira cash, free clothes, free accommodation, free ice cream treats. So I'm going to roll out the handles and you're going to follow. Right? Are we together? So the first, I like that note. It means you can hear me. The first one is our very own handle. It's called National Broadcasting Commission on Instagram. Let's follow. So they are checking. The first 10 people that follow get a gift today. Now it is on 821 followers. We want to jack it up. It's on 821 followers. That's the first. So the last 2 minutes of my time, I'd like to use that for this. National Broadcasting Commission. Follow, like their post, and then put it on your story. 5,000 naira with you. Very quickly. Now for Mr. YEMI Sonde, just Instagram for now. Of course, same name across board. YSC Limited. On Instagram, YSE Limited. The first 10 that follows, get something before you go. It could be a Dubai visa. I could call some of our people that are into short packages. But we'll be checking. Abifika, we're together. So she's checking. The first 10. Okay, I was seeing people. The first 10. And before we go as well, okay, they want me to do selfies. So you're going to take out your phone. We are not archaic. We are broadcasters. We are the ones in charge. Pick out your mobile phones. For there's a stone and there's a phone. But I know we all have phones. A stone, I saw a post on Instagram that somebody said how useless it is for the guy that made the protector case for a 3310. Somebody said no, it was not useless. It was to protect the floor from the phone. Not the phone from the floor. Some of you will get the joke when you get home. But let's make out our phones, please. So you're going to take a picture. Because I'm the one holding the mic, I'm so sorry. I want to do another funny thing. Bring out your phone, please. Thank you very much. We want to make noise. Our daddies, our grandmas, our grandpas, please, with all due respect. Thank you very much. Now go to the selfie. Just turn around your camera. Okay? Of course, you should have the right angle. Thank you very much. So you're going to take a picture of you now, and you'll post. It means we've actually embraced the fact that internet has come to stay. So because I'm the one holding the mic and I'm going, I would like to do, I might not get to see them again. All right, sirs. Thank you very much, sir. See the power of social media. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Tolu Oluwo. You want to sit down there for this session. Just sit down on the table there by Prof there. Well, my colleagues are here to do justice to the two papers. And of course, we want you to also follow because we'll be taking questions and comments from the floor. The social media, a means of engaging the audience, a means of pushing the boundaries, open access for media consumption, and a challenge to the conventional media. The danger is a loose data, a cheap phone in the hand of a dotard who have access to the internet. A dotard is someone who does not, his sense of discernment and understanding is near zero, and has access to the airwaves, has access to data and a very cheap phone. And you know the danger that individual can cause. And vis-a-vis the fear of missing out, there's a breaking news, and you see
oh, you don't want anybody to beat you to it, and you want to go on air with it, it's on the social media. You are not even looking at it. You're looking at and asking questions. What could be behind this? Some 2 weeks ago, there was this picture that circulated on the social media of a guy who was coughing and barking like someone that's been bitten by a rabid dog, and he had some red substance coming from his mouth, and it was tagged Yahoo Boy, and I'm very sure that many of us must have gone on there to make reference to that. But a week later, that was debunked, and we were told that that was a scene from a movie. The chairman also pointed out something while he was delivering his speech. So how do we handle this? I go to my colleague and friend here, Reverend Downsy. Your reflection on the two papers before you, together, take the two together.
Well, thank you very much. Let me stand on the protocols. Combining the two papers together, I'd like to really start from where the last speaker, took off from, that the social media has come to stay. And like one of my guys always say, it's the way to go. It's just the way to go. And there had always been evolution, there had always been emergence, not only in the communication world, but just in the world generally. And I think apart from the need for food and the other basic needs of shelter, clothing, communication will possibly even come before the need for some of those things. Because for you to ask for food, you have to be able to communicate. Now, when it comes to the influence that the social media has been able to bring to bear on media content, we have to be able to discern or decipher the positives from the negatives. And we embrace the positives, and then we work on the negatives to bring the desired result. Now, let me also say that our sensation as a people, in other words, the way we are educated, the kind of thing that appeals to us, has to be worked upon, and that will bring us into our education system. When Professor Ojebode was speaking about communicating or talking about rape on air, and the way in which it was communicated, it is far away from the happening itself. I remember there was a time I was on air with a colleague of mine, and the headline was, I think it was an explosion, a truck loaded, laden with fuel exploded, and more than 100 people died. And he read the story laughing. That was the major headline all over the nation at that time. And as soon as we took a break, I told him, I said, but you're not supposed to read this way. Even if you have to read obituary, there's a way your mood reflects it. And even if after the obituary you're going back to sports, it's all about drama. You act it. You come up again to be pacing. So the way we educate ourselves, especially this generation, I think questions some of the things that we do. Now, unfortunately, if the government will have to wield the big stick, then we'll start to cry foul that the freedom of expression, of information is not allowed freely and all the rest. But by and large, just a few things before I drop the microphone. The social media has been able to bring on board more journalists however, unprofessional journalists. So how will professional journalists be identified? Now, because the professional journalists of today must, as a matter of necessity, also go on social media. Otherwise, if you're not there, you cannot, like there's a saying that says, oh, Simbe, if you're not there, you cannot correct the ills. You cannot deal with the kind of people that are there. We've been given the statistics. So, how do we identify professional journalists? Is it that we're going to carry a payoff? There's a particular handle that I read almost every day, even if I didn't subscribe, but it's on all major platforms and groups where I am. And what I enjoy most is that there's a way he did his payoff. He identified himself, identified the terrestrial station that is working for, maybe as a matter of credibility, and you know, so it gives me that a little confidence. Now, something happened some time ago. Unfortunately, well, do I mention name now? One of our CEOs was said to have given birth to triplets. So we all know the story, and it was debunked. Okay, it was debunked, and so we forgot it. Only 2 days ago, or yesterday, was it yesterday, a friend posted the picture of himself and his wife with triplets on another platform where, so I just wrote there, I said, this is photoshopping. It was a merged image. It wasn't really the image of the mother with the kids, I mean the children. So I said, just forget it, he has debunked it. But less than 5 minutes later, I went on another platform, and then that rerouted me to a site where I read that he has agreed. And so, well, a bit of communication lag, you know, gap between debunking and agreeing. And the reason why he debunked before was, for me, it wasn't tenable. I won't take that reason, okay? Now, a lot of people want information and they want it real time. So, if I am going to be credible, if I'm the credible source, then I must also have a handle that can allow people to know the news real time. I believe the technology has to be controlled. Some governments control it. I believe that there is actually more to talk about than we are doing, even though there are irrelevancies. I believe that we also need more content, like on BBC they'll call it user-generated content, but at the same time there is a need to put perspectives right. And having said that it has come to stay, we only need to know how to use it rightly. Now, talking about marketing, very quickly, even if you open some sites today, very popular sites, without asking, you see pop-up adverts, and except you decide not to read or watch the advert. And there are some full-blown adverts now that we even have on some of our channels, on some of our sites. And so these has also come to stay, but how trusted, what is the reputation? Now, digital marketing on social media, I think, is more premised on your popularity, how much people believe in you and how much they trust in you. I've got calls in the last how many months from people I don't know, who don't know me, who may not have trusted me except for the platform, and they sent, say, material online, sent money online, monitored online, and there is no physical contact at all. And yet, money has come in. So it's something that we should take very, very seriously. The issue of creativity has been talked about, and then it's going to enhance a lot of competition. I think, let me stop there. A lot has been said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Downsy. I go to Edmund. You're into research, and many of us are regarded as lazy. Prof alluded to that we are very, I think the chairman also said that we are very lazy. We just get into the studio, and one of our senior colleagues said the only resume that you need to have to be a presenter on radio nowadays is to know a little about Davido, about Kim Kardashian, have data, and be stupid. And maybe on another level, be able to speak through your nose. No research, nothing. What's running through your mind? Why all of this is?
What runs through my mind with regard to social media is the phenomenon and the consequences that come with it. Nee talked about the newscaster talking about a tragic story in a comic fashion. It tells a story of environment. What social media is a reflection of the mind. It's not just a platform. Social media is the spirit of the internet. So it's a transition of the mind of he who uses the device. Now let's look at the case of a newscaster being comic with a tragic story. It is environmental. The story of the Nigerian state is full of tragic stories. When tragic stories become the norm, you accept it. It is the story of death from the north to the south. It is the story of killings from the middle belt. It is the story of tragedy in the southwest. That is the environment. So what the presenter copies most of the time, because the presenter is a reflection of the environment. So we'll get to the point. Who then becomes a presenter in such a chaotic environment? That is when you look at issues of research. But before I delve into the issues of research, a proper perspective of the social media will make us look at the consequences more than the fear that comes from its dangers. Since morning I've been trying to say, what is really the social media? We could get to a point I'm confused. Because I've also concluded that it's what you call the destruction of the social media. What technology does is to destroy the past. That's what technology does. Some people call it creative destruction. So when you have new technology, you tend to destroy the past. And when it comes to broadcasting, I know the NBC is going to run into more challenges as we go. Because technology will destroy old methods of broadcasting and come up with new methods of disseminating information. And that is some of the challenges we are seeing. And why is it becoming a very big problem? It is becoming a very big problem when a state cannot even control the technology of dissemination of information. So the problem of social media can be seen from this point. It is human nature expressed in different ways. It is media for free expression. Remember that man is constantly in chain by the regulations you create. And the essence of man is for you to break through those regulations. In breaking through those regulations, you create new methods. But with social media, it's becoming very fast. To answer your question, in such an age, the man who is the newsman, whether a citizen journalist or a professional journalist, because I'm also arguing that the line between citizenship and professionalism is very thin. Some of the bloggers that we criticize are far more intelligent than even the professional, because some of the bloggers are experts in the field they write on. A doctor runs a blog. The doctor talks about health. Edmond Obilo is a political scientist and he wants to talk about health. The likelihood of me going to that blogger's site is very high. But how do I verify? That's what that makes you the researcher. I don't want to use the word the professional. Because as a constant blogger, it gets to, if you blog for 20 years, will you still remain a non-professional? So research. I also make this argument that fake news exists because those who have real news are not competing. Professor Jebode talked about the telephone audience taking the space. And if you look at the telephone audience, because sometimes I'm even worried, I said, no, I'm not comfortable with the quality of discourse coming from the caller. But I asked the Ojebodes, why don't they call the radio stations? They don't. The knowledgeable scared, they run away. Because they are mostly my friends. I asked them, doctor, why are you not calling? Have you called a radio station before? Because it is a competition of values. What you have in social media is a competition of values, and it's not new. What has moved to social media is traditionalism moved to a higher platform. In the normal village setting, you have rumor mongers, they are there. You have the down crier. What has just moved is a transformation of the platform of disseminating news. And to check it, the citizen and the so-called professional must learn the art of research.
Thank you very much, Edmund. User-generated materials on radio, on television, from the social media, the right to know, the right to disseminate, the right to consume information so disseminated as guaranteed in the Constitution. The conflicts therefrom, how do we resolve that? Should we go the way he is suggesting, some level of control without crossing the boundary of an infringement on the right of the individual to know and the right of the individual to disseminate? How do we balance that?
Thank you very much, Ambrose. Dr. Shomide, I think you were not gender sensitive. You called them first. Why now? But thank you very much, Dr. Shomide. Social media is very relevant in everything we do. And like the first speaker spoke, we rely on what comes out on social media. Social media is swift. It's on the spot. However, I feel it is, not that I feel, it is a duty of the editor, it is a duty of the owner, it is a duty of the founder of any media organization to show some form of responsibility. That's my, honest opinion. It is your duty to ensure that you train the people that work for you. Because when the chips are down, your presenter is not going to be penalized. I feel self-regulatory is very, very important. You go on social media. I mean, we at Women Radio, let me use Women Radio as an example. We don't like to break news. We only like to break news that we have fact-checked. And then we go further to analyze. Because everybody will break the news virtually at the same time. But you now pick the content of the news and then you analyze. The Dr. Ojebades may not call into the radio station because they may be scared, but we can actually reach out to them, and that's what we've done in the past. Sometimes you have to invest in these things. You have to invest in the content. You have to invest in the resource you have on. So for me, I think the onus is on the owner. Dark Communications had issues with NBC, for instance, and Dark Communications used social media. We had access to that as well. And you have people who phone in on a radio station or a TV station, and then they make statements that are not correct. It is now my duty. I can't stop what people phone in to say. I can't stop it. But it is my duty as an owner to ensure that I challenge what they say. I feel the biggest problem on radio is the fact that broadcasters and journalists do not have a clue of what they're doing. And so you have a caller phoning in, referring to something, and the journalist and the broadcaster cannot even check it. They can't even challenge it because they don't know. He spoke about coming on radio and say, today we want to talk about Davido. Davido is, you don't even have any research about Davido. So social media, we cannot challenge social media. It's here to stay. But we now have a duty to ensure, we have a duty to ensure that whatever we push out, Dr. Shomidi, will not put us into trouble. And that is where I feel that self-regulation is important. We have to be accountable for whatever we do. We have to check for credibility. Sometimes you don't have to break the news. Just make sure you give the right information out. And most importantly, we have to take ownership. I just quickly want to speak about the importance of how social media has actually helped, because it's very important for us to acknowledge bloggers. For instance, we have a program on radio, a blogger, it's called Blog on Radio. It's a popular blogger. We gave her airtime on radio. And when she started, she had difficulty to conform because she just wants to come on radio and talk about all the things that are trending. And we said to her, you can't. You have to check whatever you bring on radio. And she's had to invite a lot of bloggers, the non-bloggers on radio. They come on and they understand that they work in an environment that is regulated. So sometimes it's good for us to engage them. We cannot but acknowledge the introduction of social media. Because for me, you know, the fact that social media gives us public court. We saw the case of the alleged rape of Fatoyinbo. It was social media that made him step down. And it is social media that will ensure that he continues to step down until justice is meted out. The same social media, it is. We have to. Because the church or the mosque or the regulatory bodies, the CAN and the PFNs, may not be willing to do anything, but social media and the public and some of us will ensure that it continues to step aside until, you know, justice is meted out. We saw what happened to the case of Senator Abu, as I said. You know, he's also going through his own challenges and his issues. But we have to acknowledge social media, but most importantly, self-regulatory is important, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. It wasn't deliberate that I had you last, you know, as the mother hen. Let me bring in Prof at this moment. Prof, the issue of control, yes, the issue of control of the social media. I know that a couple of years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago, there was this move to have it debated at the National Assembly that there was the need to control the social media because of the issue of fake news and the stigmatization of people. Anything that happens, you name a particular group of people, you see it coming from a particular group of people, and the thing continues to generate interest. In fact, when the last one happened, someone came out, a spokesperson of an organization came out without any investigation, without being on the spot, without relying on anything, and said, this was done by this particular group of people. And that has also brought to the fore the debate whether the government should come in and regulate what we put on the social media. And then say, hold on, just hold on, don't go the Chinese way, don't become a North Korea. But how do we create this balance?
Okay, thank you very much. Before I answer the question, let me apologize on behalf of people like me who will not call, were guilty as charged. Edmond made a very important point. I think the point has also been made by other people. Fake news and all of these thrive because the real correct news are not there, or pieces of information are not there. I feel really pained from time to time when I see crews from our radio stations on campus begging my colleagues to speak with them over boiling issues. And my colleagues don't want to, for some reasons, I don't know. I remember the last time it was something about the nomadic education program. I had to follow a crew to a particular professor, and I said, Prof, you have to speak on this matter. Our people are very reticent. I think they are reclusive, I would say. So, and they have their reasons. Now, I'll answer the question very briefly. You are right. I mean, a lot of pressure on the need to regulate social media. And there is also a lot of apprehension and fear on what happens if we begin to regulate. I mean, Ethiopia, Uganda, these are African nations that have gone through experiences of internet shutdown and so on and so forth. So it's a very, very dangerous thing to allow. And I think Nigerians don't want it. That is why it has become a debate and it has gone on and on and on, outlive the whole National Assembly session. Because regulation has to be carefully done. And there can be over-regulation if care is not taken. One of the laws that we have, there is a comprehensive code, which is actually, we wrongly call NBC code, but it is our code. It's Nigerian Broadcasting Code. It's not NBC code. We all had made inputs to that code. We made inputs to the revision. And that is why you will go very far before you can say NBC is unfair in their regulation. But we don't know who is going to be in charge of regulating social media. So many people are afraid. Now, the point I tried to make, and I have continued to make, is there is enough in the existing pieces of legislation that we can apply. There's law of libel and defamation and slander and all of that. If we judiciously apply those provisions, we don't need another piece of legislation for social media. I mean, defamation is defamation, whether it is written or spoken or typed or printed or whatever. And so, except our National Assembly people just want to say, okay, this was done during our era, I do not think we need a piece of legislation regulating social media.
Thank you very much, Prof. We have just about 15 minutes left to do this. So we go to the House to take comments and questions for Prof, for Mr. Oluwo, and for the panel. Uncle Ediaino, your reflections. Okay, there's somebody at the back. Okay, I'll come to you, sir. There's somebody at the back. How many microphones do we have? Okay, please come. Kindly introduce yourself, make your question or contribution as brief as possible, yeah? We appreciate that. Hello.
Thank you very much. My name is Bamiki Afe in Tulua. I had my master's in UIA last year. I finished last year. Thank you very much for giving me this audience. Actually, I was supposed to travel today. But when I heard about this program, I said, wow, this is a great privilege for me. With what I'm having here, the social media, I mean radio stations, television stations, the impact on persons with disabilities, as far as we are concerned, is too naive. Very, very unfortunately that we had some presenters using some nasty words, calling person with a physical challenge different sorts of names. There was a time I was listening to a program, I won't mention the station, referring to a person with disability as Aro in Yoruba. Imagine if, though, after today, I will be regarding any presenter saying such things as unprofessional. Sir, if you have a younger brother or a younger sister and is having these challenges, maybe he's a guy and he wants to get married, or he's a lady want to get married, will you allow that lady or that guy to marry Aro? You know, the way we talk at times, that Aro in Yoruba is, he does not want it. You know, they are damaging our personalities, okay, which is very, very wrong.
Okay.
There was a time, I won't mention him.
I want you to round off so that, because I've just been told that we have 5 minutes left and we need to take some other contributions.
Okay, sir.
But we do appreciate, and I think the essence of this is to...
Okay, to round it up, I'm just appeal to this professional I'm seeing here today that they should please, because what you said to the society is what they throw back to us. It is the responsibility of the media to correct the society, so that all those sort of things, because if the society is not accepting us, then it's like the society is not a good place for us to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think that that's taken. Give it to Uncle Eda for his reflections on all of this, and then we take one more because we have just 5 minutes for this session.
Well, thank you, my brother Ambrose. Well, the issue of social media is multifaceted, because there is the good, the bad, and the ugly. We will recall that, but for social media, in fact, when Osama bin Laden was taken down, by the American forces, under 15 minutes and under 75 minutes when Obama, addressed the nation, 500,000 tweets, emerged, about 800 blogs, and about 500 articles, written. And the only newspaper that carried it in the evening. That's the good side of it. But the DG, and the professor, had enumerated the bad sides of it, especially the way it verged on conventional broadcasting. But there was a question you asked, the other time. People mix the issue of freedom of expression, and social media. Yes, freedom of expression is guaranteed by the Constitution. Even if you look at the African Charter, you look at United Nations, and which we adopted to Section 36. Yes, it's there, but there's no absolute freedom anywhere. And that's what I think we should mind, when we are expressing ourselves on social media. But one thing I've found out in Nigeria with regards to journalists is the fact that we don't gatekeep again. The issue of gatekeeping is the problem we have with social media. Because the social media, anybody says about anything and about everything without verifying. Whereas we as broadcasters and journalists, we double check, we cross check before we go on there. And it's the set of broadcasters and journalists that do not cross check or double check, that infringes on the code of the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Uncle Eddie. And Professor Idachaba will be dealing with that aspect of the perspective of the regulators. Please quickly come. Who? We'll take one more. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
Tunebe Waji is my name. I think Tunebe Waji is my name. I must thank my brother who spoke first. From the comments, just a few months ago, I attended a conference in Botswana on disabilities. Indeed, a nation is to be recognized for a number of things, 4 major things. How they treat children, how they treat women, how they treat the elderly, and how they treat with the disabled. The so-called disabled are differently abled. Yoruba culture does recognize that. I stumbled on this forum. I should be elsewhere. I'm from the University of the West Indies. Oga was to have been there some time ago on a function which is Our Excellency Janet Olisa hosted. But I believe he wasn't able to be there, the Director General. Now, we have a twilight situation. The professional media practitioners are the ones trained. But you have on-the-spot reporting. Those are the ones who are not trained. Sometime last year, my colleague and I, we did a book on media theory, practice, and ethics. It's a very significant thing because some of the problems that we have in the world today are driven by hate speech, which nobody has any control over on the social media. And that is the question I wanted to raise to the Director General, not to the professor, and the others. Because those of us who live on this side, we are just recipients, we are consumers of ideas. In many instances, you just believe it because it's coming there. So I don't know how we are going to navigate that. Thank you for this day. Thank you.
All right, let's give room for a lady. Sorry, sir. Let's give room for a lady. I appreciate, and we have just, sir. There's a lady here. Okay, let's go to the lady. DG, sir. I'll come to you so that you can respond to what our prof said about fake news and all of that, and what we're going to do about that. He made reference to you. But if you want to, okay, so, yeah, let's go to the lady first so that we can take that one. Then we'll round up with our comments.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sheil Davis. I represent Smash FM. I'm just going to mention a few things that everyone here is my Oga, obviously. I just want to mention a few things that we as colleagues, I wonder if we pay so much attention to it. Social media, as we all have said, has come to stay. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it, I'm sure. But I wrote down a few things. I jotted down a few things. I believe that the space between the presenter who sets the agenda, and then the participants who are our callers, is that gate that we need to keep as professionals. Now, you can't like the MDC of Women FM did say, I beg your pardon, there is no way you can, really, checkmate what people say, but there's another way. There is a technology, a device, your telephone hybrid. So you don't take the phones directly. So what you do is delayed. It's the same contribution. But anybody can call and say maybe something is wrong with the president, God forbid. So maybe we also, as media organizations, should invest in some technologies that will help us balance between what we're giving to the people, the response we want to get from them, and the things that should go on professionally on our media.
Okay.
If, for instance, okay, all right, then secondly, that's very important. We can do a hybrid phone that's delayed. Then also, it's very important that we research just as he said. I realize that most of the times, just as the professor said, is ojo shisile. It's a very lazy way because you just got a video online and you think everybody's liking it. I'm sure media likes it. Babani here, so it's authentic. And so you go on. It's very important that we don't rush to the. Mrs. Shonaya just said, Also, on Smash FM, we will never ever break the news, or except we're bringing it to you fresh from our own pocket. So it's very important. And thirdly, there's room for training and retraining, sir. Even, I think most presenters are not trained on the use of social media. So they're left to do things on their own, while still trying to ensure that they break news as it breaks. So it's very important that we as media organizations still train on their personalities, on the way to go about balancing a house style, breaking the news, and staying out of trouble of the NBC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. NBC does not have a trouble. All right. One minute to you, then we go like that, then we end up with the DG. Just one minute, your round of comments. Just 1 minute. Let's give it 1 minute.
Okay, just a minute. I think the how is the major question now. Terrestrial or professional platforms, like they are called, organizations that are regulated, identified by NBC, should also go massively into online broadcasting. And so we can begin to check up things from, reputable organizations. There's also a need to build capacity. Get departments and units that major in that. And the professionals should challenge themselves to confirm and get balanced perspective, and if very possible, add a lot of speed to their work. Now, when it comes to NBC as an organization, I think somehow NBC should also invest in the online presence, where a lot of things, even though delayed, as it has been said, can be confirmed, but very, very fast. And I believe that we can't do all of this without talking to the government to also encourage and empower technology developers like our brother here, to engage them in seeing how they can form an alliance and then begin to check all of this.
Thank you very much. Edmund?
For the presenter, we shouldn't critique the presenter all the time. No matter what we do, the presenter is a reflection of his or her environment. I have seen that there's this huge expectation that purity of intention should come from the media. In the ideal state, that is fine. The media should be above board. The realistic state is that the journalist, the doctor, the teacher is a reflection of the character of the state. The way media is losing it, the university is losing it, the hospitals are losing it, and it's a reflection of the character of the state. So to correct it, to have a fundamental correction, the state must begin to redefine its social formations and then begin to have a hand on technology. China can regulate because China has what it takes to regulate. The NBC depends on foreign technology to regulate. In that case, even America can penetrate your system and you cannot regulate efficiently. That is why liberalism and globalism is driving the social media. And who are the drivers of liberalism? It's the big countries, the great powers.
Okay.
Finally, I am a social media person. Fully a social media person. In fact, now I run away from saying I'm a broadcaster. 70% of my content you would find on Instagram. I want to blow up the space. There's a challenge. You have so much comedy and fake news. And I'm sitting down saying, no, So what do? Blow up the space with your content. It is a fight. And in the next 1 year, 100% of my content will be on, and even content I don't have on radio will be on social media. Because I'm looking towards a situation where there will be a meltdown, which is coming soon. And then the real newsmakers will shine.
Thank you very much, Edmund. And
Thank you very much. I'll say check it before you use the news. Research your subject. Don't be lazy. Be a master. Self-regulate yourself. Be known for facts. Help NBC. Help the media. Help us as well to self-regulate. Report it. Be a watchdog. Be real. Please don't speak through your nose. Be Nigerian. Thank you.
the DG, please. And that will be it.
Thank you very much. I have enjoyed listening very much to the various contributions. For me, if you go back to the presentation I made earlier, I was trying to situate things in the context of the development of our country, and especially, you know, the demographic shifts that we're dealing with today. In 1960, our population was about 45 million people. Today, the population is 201 million people. It's huge. And if you look at that population, we do a breakdown of that population, right? 63% of that population is under the age of 25. 75% under the age of 35. As a matter of fact, people who are 60 years and above are only 3% of the Nigerian population. Okay? Let me bring it back again. 75% of the people who live in Nigeria today were not born when Muhammadu Buhari was the head of state in 1983 to 1985. So it's a terribly young country. And it's not only in Nigeria. If you take a look at the African continent, okay, the median age in Africa is 20 years, okay? The average age of the African leadership is 65 years. So you have this generational divide between the people and the leaderships on the African continent. Now, in the context of Nigeria and the context of Africa, if we look at the restiveness we are harvesting all over the continent today, it's because young people are responding to a process that has emerged from the 1980s. Actually, you know, from the mid-1980s, most African countries started implementing new, first of all, SAP, structural adjustment policies. So the continent lost a whole decade of development, and then you had the uprisings of the 1990s and this wave of democratization, okay? But underpinning was the implementation of neoliberal policies. And what we have discovered is that neoliberalism actually has not really unlocked development that responds to the yearnings of people. What we have managed to do in most of our continent today, and especially in Nigeria, is that we have created one of the most unjust, one of the most unequal societies on earth. Okay? So, in the context of this reality, social media platforms offer some kind of opportunity for young people to be part of the delusions that come from mass consumption capitalism and this fetishism of money. I was listening to the young man who is the social media influencer talking about how much money you can make. That's the nature of the world we live in today, right? But in reality, not everybody will make that money. So there is a delusional process that is central to the way our society is developing. I'm just trying to create a general ambience for these developments. But for us in broadcasting regulation, the issue is that nobody talks about not using social media platforms to engage or to get materials. But for you, the professional broadcaster, it is that you must mediate whatever you take from social media. Your material must meet the basic tenets of professional broadcasting engagement: veracity, checking and double checking to be sure your facts are right. I was the first editor of Daily Trust newspaper. And we had a basic position in Daily Trust. If we're not sure of the news, then you don't publish. It doesn't matter that our competition could publish, but if we are not totally sure, we never ever published, because we set certain standards below which we would never ever drop. It might be slow going at the beginning, but then people get to know you for certain qualities. They know that if you go here, you're going to get veracity, you're going to get professionally done stories, you're going to get the absolute levels of professionalism, and that's the way it should be. Professor Ojebode was talking about newspaper reviews on newspapers. When I was a continuity announcer on radio, what we did was to review the editorial opinions of newspapers. That is a very professional manner to deal with print journalism and broadcasting. But there was an evolution, and then people started absolutely unprofessional attitudes. As a matter of fact, we're discussing this at NBC. Let me be honest with you. How do we regulate people who do these newspaper reviews? We're going to get back to you very soon about that. Okay. And if you then use user-generated content and you don't mediate it, of course, if you then breach the Nigeria Broadcasting Code, our duty is to make sure you walk that straight and narrow path which the Nigeria Broadcasting Code obliges you to do. A lot of the crises that we face in our country today are also related to this unmediated usage of materials on social media. And quite honestly, if you look at the license that you collected from NBC, you signed up to certain obligations. We must not use broadcasting to disrupt the good order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We must have a country before you have broadcasting.
DG, sir, yeah. We're still going to discuss extensively on that area in the next paper, sir. Well, so we can just arrive.